Welcome to this special interview on the sidelines of the Intra-African Trade Fair being held in Algeria. Today we will talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area. A key important figure is with us to talk about this point. It's Elizabeth Gatho from Kenya. She's representing the Financial Inclusion and Trade Manager at Microsave Consulting. That's it. So, Elizabeth, welcome to Algeria and to our television, national television.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, you are taking part in this inter-African trade fair being held in Algeria. So, how things are going so far during this event?
So far, it's been vibrant. We've had a lot of deals and engagements, both amongst us as the partners who came to support the IATF through the AFCFTA, as well as the partners that we brought along and the people we work with in the market that we come from. So quite engaging and quite informative. And I've learned a lot about your country, which I didn't know much about, yeah. And it's a beautiful country, and I'm happy to be here.
So some deals are already signed, and
yes,
others are in the offing.
Exactly, yes.
Can we know about the countries, at least, that you have concluded with these deals?
Yeah, a good example is actually Algeria. So one of our counterparts from the government who came in with the government body, and we came in with our partner, the AFCFTA. We just met in the corridors here, and the partners we came with are actually signing a deal on avocado, exportation of avocado and macadamia nuts. Yeah, so they're already engaging on that.
So our basic topic is to talk about the free trade area. And you know, that point has been largely debated during the opening session with the participation of President. So it has an important, great importance in this event.
Yes, it definitely does have a great importance, mainly because currently it's the world's largest free trade area with members of over 1.4 billion people, with representing a GDP of $3.4 trillion. So just by membership alone, it's a large market, and it's a market that will help the small and medium enterprises that are represented here today, because it's a big market for them that is not external. So keeping the value within our continent for us and within us. And that's why we're here in North Africa, because we largely trade within sub-Saharan Africa. So just expanding the markets outside of what we're used to, but still within ourselves, yeah.
So after the presidential debate, what are the ideas, the novelty of this debate?
Okay, so I'll speak more in terms of what we do as Microsave Consulting in partnership with the AFCFTA. So it being a large market, it poses as a great opportunity for small enterprises. So what does that mean? We work with small enterprises, we work with women and youth. So it poses as a market where they can not only market their products within their borders, within their national borders, but can expand outside of their national borders within their regions, for example, the East Africa region, but also externally to the SADC members or the COMESA members within Africa as well. So outside of the international borders, externally to the external countries that they export to. So that's number one. Number two, we work with financial institutions just to create products and solutions for these women to de-risk the products in terms of affordable insurance, to avail credit for them in terms of affordable credit. And the FCFTA also has that mandate. So with the work they're doing with the Afrexim Bank, money cuts across all partners, whether it's logistics, whether it's movement of goods. So what does that mean? So if we facilitate the women in terms of access to finance and also access to insurance, it facilitates their trades in partnership with what we're doing with the AFCFTA. Yes.
So the free trade, area,
yes,
one of its main objectives is a single market. How things are going so far towards that direction?
So far, so good, because out of the 55 states we have in Africa, 54 have already signed up to it and 47 ratified. What does that mean? With 47 ratified, it means it's a legal document within their countries. They're legally bound to actually participate, to actually reduce the tariff barriers and the non-tariff barriers that constrain trade. And then that means trade will not be constrained, it will actually be enabled externally. So that's a very, very big move, because this was from, in less than 5 years, that has already happened. So first and foremost, that's big. Secondly, there's a buy-in from the actual people. So when you move around, you'll see a lot of enterprises, small and medium enterprises here represented today, because they believe in this free trade area. So they're not today in these boardrooms, they're not signing trade agreements externally outside of Africa. They're signing trade agreements within Africa. So the buy-in from the people itself is, of course, paramount. And then the last but not least, we have a single payment system that is being onboarded, that has already been piloted in West Africa, has already extended to East Africa, and that's the PAP system, the Pan-African Payment Systems, that enables all the countries, the 54 countries, to trade with their local currency. So we're not trading with external currencies, we're trading with our own local currencies, giving value back to our currencies, number one, and of course giving our value chain stronger and paramount visibility and movement and traceability of the money and of the goods as well.
You're speaking about the local currencies. Isn't there any move or intention to work for a single currency, just like the European Union with the euro? Is there any move toward that point?
So of course they've had discussions on that, and remember this discussion first happened in 1963 with the Pan-African members who came in and agreed on that. So a lot of movement had not happened by then, but now we've seen progress to that. So just by our countries opting to trade with their local currencies, first and foremost is setting aside the external currencies we are used to, we were born into, but they do not work for us. So that's number one. Because with trading with external currencies, we lose up to $5 billion in expenses alone. So that's number one. And then eventually, because this is an agenda 2063, by 2063 we hope to have a one single currency, a single logistics around, and a single market within Africa.
So far you are dealing with the local currencies and things are going in a good way, smoothly.
Yes, smoothly. Banks have bought into it. West African banks have already piloted the PAP system. East African banks are now committed to the PAP system, which means if I'm trading with you, assuming your bank is already onboarded into that, and I'm coming to your market, I will trade in Kenya shillings, you'll trade in dinar, and will not lose our value, and I'll not have to cram the conversion rates for that.
But when you are trading with foreign countries like China, you use a foreign currency.
Yes, dollar and whatnot. And with traders, you lose value in terms of when you're exchanging your currency, because it requires trust and understanding of a unique currency. I will not take time to understand the Chinese yen or the Japanese yuan, so I'll just take precedence in understanding the USD. But within the PAP system, I'm only entitled, I'd only have to understand my currency, which I always do. So I will focus on my business as opposed to being a forex expert, and just focus on the core business that I do, and I let the banking system do the rest for us.
But before attaining the point of a single currency, we have to achieve another point, an important one, that of a common market.
Yes.
I need more explanation concerning that point exactly.
I believe that for sure the expert there will be the FCFTA team. But since we work with them, it's what I've seen them pushing, and what they always deliver on is a single market. So how does that look like? It looks a lot like them intervening with policy. So they come to governments and they work with governments, they work with private sector. Right now we work with the private sector unit. So how do we enable countries to have single policies? For example, what if I'm trading, for example, in fish in my country, and I'm crossing over to the border and they are trading in fish as well? they have the same requirement in terms of the standards. Standards are similar, the requirements are similar, so that whatever standards I'm required to trade when I'm in my country is not different from other countries. So right now we are in the policy implementation, because the countries have already bought in that as well, and also just enabling environment, not only for larger corporates, but predominantly for smaller businesses who are the backbone of the economy for this continent.
You know, for a good trade, a booming trade, we need to talk about the tariff reduction, tariffs and customs, how the system is working within the African trade, and even within the free trade area.
Okay, so for me, I'm more of a financial expert. I'm not a trade expert, but in the talk that we had last week, actually, there's a fund, the AFCFTA and Afreximbank, in collaboration with Afreximbank, have launched. So the fund that Afreximbank has launched, part of it is to compensate countries that reduce their tariffs. For example, countries use tariffs as revenue to generate revenues for the institutions, not sometimes to facilitate trade. So they're encouraging tariffs to facilitate trade and not for revenue collection. And if a country forgoes revenue from tariffs, they are compensating such countries just to enable them to create an enabling environment. Because if you really focus on tariffs for revenue collection, you reduce on enabling tariffs to facilitate revenue. So that's number one. And on the opposite side, so for non-tariff barriers, it's more on affirmative action, educating the officers at the borders, educating the members who trade across borders, and also any other stakeholders that they need to affirm that these are the non-tariff barriers, this is what exists. We talk to traders. For example, we came with traders, so they gave us their insights onto what non-tariff barriers they go through, what is not working at the border, what is not working at maybe the regulator's office. So how does that come down? How do we help countries to reduce the non-tariff barriers? And how do we enlighten the traders to know what their rights are and what checklists they need, so that they can come confidently to the table and trade and not be intimidated?
How about regulations and laws? Are they coping with the situation, with the current situations, and with the upcoming challenges as well?
So far, it's more of a mindset that countries are used to trading in a certain way. And for example, national governments will adopt this, but the actual implementers on the ground, a good example is one of the countries we went to when we actually piloting one of the projects that we were working on. We went to the border, and the borders had over 20 physical barriers from one, just in a small distance of like 200 meters. They had so many physical barriers. But see, the national government for that country has adopted the regulatory frameworks to allow free crossing and movement of goods. Yeah, that is not too stringent. But the people on the ground do not implement that. So how do we work with officers at the borders that are man-made, that we've created for ourselves to protect our lands, protect our laws, to just facilitate free movement of goods, free movement of people on agreements that are already signed? So an agreement can be signed, but not fully implemented. So it takes time between signing of an agreement and actual implementation, because it needs buy-in from everyone and awareness from everyone. So that's the part of the work we do. So telling stories, for example, at Microsafe Consulting, we collect data and tell stories, or what do we need to improve to facilitate movement of goods. For example, within our scope in East Africa, are goods moving from Uganda to DRC mostly? What are the hurdles? What do we need to change? What are the systems that are still not operational? Yeah.
So you mean between ideas and the implementation, it's another story. It takes time. Are the governments cooperating with you so that laws take shape on the ground?
Yes, they do. They actually do, because with what we do, the kind of work we do, we work with both private sector and the government, and there's nothing you can do without buy-in from the government. For example, every time we go to governments, they are very open to us working with, for example, the extension officers, if it's an agri project, with their border officers, if it's a trade facilitation project around the border. So they're very willing and accepting, and give us the resources to train them and work with them and extend the services to the people who need it the most, the women and youth that we work with.
I think I have an idea, maybe it's working outside elsewhere, and you correct me if I'm mistaken. I think that to facilitate things, we need a central bank, the bank of the banks, to make things easier.
Yes.
Is there, what do you think of that idea? And do the Africans are really working on that point, on that idea?
Yeah, that's for sure a great idea. It will take a lot of time and space, and it's part of what we say, the Agenda 2063. So for the African Union, for a single currency, a single central bank, that is what it means. So for sure they are working towards that. And you know, with the PAP system, of course, that's a great move towards that. With a Pan-African bank like Afrexim Bank, that's already great progress towards that. So, and we look forward to that, like in 2063, for our children and our grandchildren who will actually live that vision and experience the dream that we had and the work that we put in currently for their future.
You evoked during our discussion a very important idea, the free movement of people and goods. How things are working concerning that point?
Actually, we've made tremendous progress on that. I'd speak more on the region we come from. So within East Africa, we already had the East African community. It had its hurdles, but now with the enforcement of the AFCFTA, which now comes and just validates and strengthens already work that began. The SADC community, the ECOWAS community, so the already regional blocks, the regional economics blocks that were already working. So it's just working with the existing regional economic blocks. How do you expand that? So EAC just started with 3 countries. It expanded to DRC and many more. We've seen recently the addition of French into the working language of the EAC. So that already reduces the barrier of people and movement, because people need to communicate. I have had challenges communicating here because I do not speak French. But the moment you include other people's languages, you include Portuguese-speaking countries, it becomes easier for people to move because it's easy to communicate, it's easy to understand each other, and also movement of culture. So people is not just a physical being, it's also the culture and the implementation of that. And also with that, it's now the collaboration of the economic blocks. For example, EAC and SADC, EAC and ECOWAS and whatnot. And above all that, the AFCFTA. So the AFCFTA is more like a mother who facilitates and propagates the movement of the working of the RECs, of the regional economic corridors and blocks that were already pre-existing. So we've seen that working, and we are also continuing on that as well currently.
Another factor, a key factor, in fact, at least what I do believe, is the free movement of people via new crossing borders. Means no barriers between to move from one country to a country via crossing borders. How things are evolving?
Yeah, so I'll give an example of one of the partners we work with. Trademark Africa have done tremendous and amazing work on that. One of the initiatives they have is a one-stop border point, where you just have a one-stop at the border. You remember the example I gave of some borders, like they have physical boundaries of like 5 stops. So the one-stop border, they work on the infrastructure, they work on the policy, and they also work with the officers, so that you only have a one-stop. So if you're moving your goods, for example, if you're moving perishable goods like fish, you do not have to cross on 10 borders, because with every border you cross, there's a payment. There's the informal payments that you need to pay, and there's the formal payments, which reduces on the value of your goods and also increases on your expenses, and that eats into your profit margin. So with a one-stop border, and that we experience as partners in the projects that we work with together. We crossed on the Busia border, where it's a one-stop border, where it's one check, one stamp, and you move over to the other country. Yeah, so we've seen it in action, we've seen it working, and I've experienced it myself with the traders that we work with. Yeah.
Other facilitations concerning visa issuance, for instance.
Yeah.
Are there facilitations in that domain?
Yes.
The issuing of visa.
Yeah. We've seen more and more African countries actually relaxing visa requirements amongst our own members. A very good example is us as Kenya. we are taking visa. We're not requiring visas for most African countries, except just but a few, one or two here and there. But it's a free visa country for every African and the Caribbean members as well. So what our president did, actually as recent as this year, already speaks volumes. It says we're open and welcoming all people who wants to stay, and then you just apply for work visas now when you're within the country. But it facilitates ideas. So when you come, you see, okay, what can I do in this country? The country is open to me, the population is open to me, meaning the market is actually open to me, first and foremost. And then the more visitors we receive as Kenyans, we also get to know what can you export more to these people, how can you work with them. So we've seen more and more presidents and nations actually opening and reducing the visa restrictions for member states within Africa. So, for example, recently, anytime we visit Zambia, which is in Southern Africa, I'm not required to have a visa as an East African. So I've been to Zambia this year alone 4 times. I already have ideas on what can I do. We work with Zambians, and the restrictions are not much. So even at the immigration's office, they just stamp my passport and I cross over, and that's it.
In the future, maybe we just need an ID or a passport to move from one country to another.
Exactly, a Pan-African passport, and that's what we're aiming to. So one African passport where we can move freely within our own continent, for sure.
I will speak about an experience, an Algerian experience. I need your comments on. Algeria has initiated the opening of new bank branches in other countries. For instance, Algerian banks have branches now in Senegal, I think, and in Mauritania. Bank branches abroad. Is there any similar experience with other countries, and your comment on that experience?
Oh, that's actually very, very commendable, because one of the things a country can do in terms of facilitating openness and just visibility to others and to see that you guys are open to trade is exactly what you're speaking on. So with you actually opening branches elsewhere, it means infrastructure and investment for your country in other countries. What does that do? It means faster movement of your goods, because it means trustworthiness. I can walk into an Algerian bank and see, okay, I'm actually receiving my money, so it reduces my barriers in terms of trading with an Algerian. So that already facilitates trading itself. And if we see that with more banks and more countries, that will be very commendable. And we don't even have to do physical branches or physical offices. We can actually do that digitally. And what does that do? It shows transparency and traceability of money. Which now reduces barriers and increases and improves the trust between traders and between countries. So that's quite commendable, and good job on that.
Another experience, an Algerian experience as well. Algeria is opening up to other countries via new roads. For instance, Algiers-Lagos road. Other flights. The last one is from Algiers to N'Djamena, a commercial, a trade line. So new flights, and even there are some maritime lines. A new experience, and I need your comment on that point once again.
That means the government, your government, is really open to visibility and also easing other people coming into your country. I'll give my experience on that as well. Coming here, I had to check, company organization had to check through 4 airlines, and none of them were African, which was very, very sad for me. Like, I have to leave the continent to come back to the continent. So with such moves, it means we'll not be moving to the Middle East to go land in the Middle East and then come back to our own continent, or to Europe or to Turkey, you know. So we'll be moving within our own continent, within our own airways, you know, and we do not have to go and promote other people's businesses and other people. So assuming we have like an airline, the Algerian Airlines or Kenya Airways, flying directly to your country, I will not have to do 2 flights, because the cost is immense. If you're already spending $5,000 to come to Algeria, it will not be an attractive market for most traders, because how many small businesses can actually raise transport money just to come? So what that means is, when you open the airways, it reduces the cost and improves facilitation and facilitates people coming here. So when I came here, I already saw it's a good market for us to export our milk. We're big milk producers, we're big sugar producers. You consume a lot of milk, you consume a lot of sugar. So I can already see opportunities, but there are already existing barriers. So what the government is already doing is moving towards reducing the barriers, you know, which is also quite commendable.
Very briefly, do you think that the 2025 IATF is a new boost, a new impetus for your activities in Africa? Very briefly.
Yes, for sure. And a good example is them as at Microsave Consulting, we had a strategy for Africa. Africa is one of the main and core places that we work in because we work with developing countries, but we do not have a presence in North Africa. But this, me as a project manager, as a manager, already have ideas and a strategy, and I'm like, okay, we have more opportunities over and above sub-Saharan Africa where we operate in. So there's more market for sure, and this all honestly opened my eyes. And the fact that I'm here, seated here, talking about my organization and the organization that I work in, it gives us visibility and it gives us opportunities to actually come and also do deals here, which was not part of what 2 weeks ago I will not have imagined working here or having deals here or implementing projects here. But now it can be part of my strategy and strategy for next year, 2026.
Okay, to conclude, in future, one continent, one bank, one currency,
one passport,
one market, one passport. This is the new Africa.
That's the new Africa.
Elizabeth, thank you very much for this interesting interview. I wish you success. A good stay in Algeria. Thank you for this very friendly chat and this interesting interview. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome to Algeria. Ladies and gentlemen, with this come to the end of our special interview. Thanks. Keep tuning to our channel and programs. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.